Imagine a single speech igniting a firestorm that could reshape America. When one woman dared to challenge a billionaire's empire, another vowed to silence her, unleashing a battle that exposed secrets, threats, and a chilling question. Is truth a right or a crime? Stay tuned. This story will grip you. When Emma Carter broadcasted a livestream exposing Tesla's misconduct, Laura Bennett retaliated, charging her with fueling anti-government sentiments and demanding a federal probe. What started as a bold birthday address rapidly spiraled into a fierce legal and political confrontation between two formidable women on opposing sides of American justice. As courtroom battles revealed covert alliances, media distortions, and escalating dangers to free expression, one pressing question loomed large. In modern America, does truth still have a shield, or is it now a target? Keep watching. This tale is unmissable. It was meant to be a calm evening. Emma Carter sat in a softly lit Seattle studio, a lone spotlight casting her as a witness ready to deliver a decisive truth. A plain banner behind her declared, "Tesla takedown." No spectacle, no grandeur, just a woman with a message poised to ignite the system's core. The viewer count soared, 45,000, then 120,000, surpassing 2 million in mere minutes. Her team murmured anxiously behind the camera, uncertain if she'd follow through. Emma straightened her blazer, adorned with a simple cross, leaned toward the microphone, and, with the calmest voice in Washington politics, declared, "This isn't about me. It's about who shapes America and who keeps tearing it apart." The studio remained hushed, but the online comments erupted. A senator's birthday had transformed into a battle cry. Emma Carter stood unwavering. Her hands lay steady on the desk, her eyes piercing the camera as if reaching every screen nationwide. "I'm not here for cake or candles. I'm here to bring Elon Musk to account," she stated, precise, unyielding, and charged like a courtroom charge. Her words sliced through the digital realm like a gavel strike, shaking a billion-dollar dynasty. Journalists paused mid-broadcast. Influencers shared the clip instantly. It became a digital shockwave felt worldwide. For Emma, it wasn't personal. It was systemic. Musk wasn't merely an individual. He embodied unchecked authority, corporate privilege masked as progress. Her statement wasn't impulsive. It was the opening salvo in a public trial few realized had started. The audience, every American watching, waited to see who would falter first. The response didn't simmer. It exploded. Within half an hour, Fox News blared a headline, "Radical Carter targets American visionary." By morning, hashtags spread like a blaze. "We don't crush Carter. Tweet Musk equals America. Elon 2028. Laura Bennett posted on Twitter, "Emma Carter's words breed disorder. She must be ousted from office now." Right-wing shows looped her clip, stripping context and sowing panic. Emma's email was inundated with threats. Her staff faced messages filled with racial venom and violent promises. Yet, she didn't remove the live stream or offer regrets, for this wasn't about Musk alone. It was about who could speak freely without being crushed, who could challenge without being erased. With the conservative juggernaut now targeting her, Emma Carter stood firm at the crossroads of freedom and oppression, refusing to budge. While Emma held her ground amid the storm, a calculated tempest brewed in Florida, driven not by crowds or bots, but by a sleek former attorney general armed with a mission and a film crew. The Fox News studio that night wasn't merely chilled, it was orchestrated. Cameras honed in not on truth, but on outrage. Laura Bennett strode in from stage left, a prosecutor entering a staged trial. Flawless hair, measured voice, and an unopened folder. She needed no proof to pronounce judgment. Her eyes sparkled under the studio glow, not with fairness, but with ambition, cloaked as loyalty to the nation. Seated opposite the host, she inhaled once and launched, not with subtlety, but with condemnation. Emma Carter's words weren't speech, they were treason, plain and clear. The anchor leaned in, feeding on the accusation's energy. The screen's ticker screamed in bold. Carter urges assault on Musk. Bennett calls for action. Then, the subtle threat was voiced aloud. If federal authorities won't probe this dangerous rhetoric, Bennett cautioned, I'll push for congressional inquiries and a federal investigation. No one escapes the law, not even a congresswoman posing as a rebel. Her tone was polished, practiced, but her words struck like a sledgehammer, aiming not just at Emma's speech, but at her platform's validity, her voice, her right to dissent. It was a classic political maneuver. Take a black woman who stands tall, recast her conviction as a threat, and cloak your response in law and order rhetoric. Millions watched as Bennett painted Emma not as a voice against corruption, but as a national danger. Her composed delivery made it all the more sinister. She didn't shout or fume. She wielded calm as a weapon. In doing so, she authorized viewers to doubt Emma, to view her as erratic, unpatriotic, unfit. This wasn't mere spin, it was annihilation, polished, broadcasted, and steeped in the pretense of safeguarding the country. What stung deeper, what felt like betrayal etched in stone, was that Bennett knew her strategy's impact. This wasn't about America's safety. It was about muting a woman who dared confront a tycoon. Bennett didn't seek justice. She sought dominance. Dominance over the story, the reaction, the fallout of a nation forced to face its obsession with corporate idols and tech titans. It began as a minor bulletin few thought would matter. 3 arrested in Tesla charging station vandalism. By dawn, it had erupted into a media maelstrom with Emma Carter's name at its core. At 3:27 a.m., security footage from a supercharger site near Colorado Springs captured 3 men, hooded, masked, carrying backpacks, charging toward the stations. Their actions were sloppy, fueled by rage, impulsive. They didn't yell manifestos or rally cries. They swung pipes like wrecking balls, soaked cables in fuel, and set the site ablaze before fleeing into the night. Police tracked them in under 2 hours. By sunrise, they were detained, booked, and splashed across every news outlet. But once they were arrested, the story shifted from them. Laura Bennett pounced on the opportunity as if it were scripted. She stood outside a Florida courthouse, clutching printed screenshots from Emma's livestream like courtroom exhibits for a case yet to begin. Holding one aloft for reporters, she didn't pause. When a congresswoman declares she wants Elon Musk taken down, Bennett proclaimed, we can't be shocked when his assets are attacked. Such actions stem from words like hers. Her voice was steady, her words cutting. The blow landed like a battering ram against truth itself. She didn't merely link events, she wove a trap around them. The vandals were faceless. Emma was not. Now, the crime had a figurehead, a scapegoat, a symbol. The unfairness was staggering. Emma hadn't urged violence. Her words were sharp, but grounded in accountability, not chaos. She sought political resistance, not fire and steel. Yet the narrative slipped from her grasp. News anchors replayed Bennett's clip every 30 minutes. Online headlines screamed, Congresswoman's words ignite Tesla vandalism. With no caveats, no context, just accusation woven into each syllable. In less than half a day, Emma went from a critic of unchecked power to the presumed architect of property crimes. No one probed the vandals' motives, histories, or mental states. That required effort. Blaming Carter was simpler, tidier, more profitable. In her D.C. office, Emma sat motionless before a screen, watching her image flicker in and out of news alerts. Her hands shook, not from fear, but from outrage. The system didn't misinterpret her. It chose to weaponize her. It chose to frame righteous fury as warfare. It chose to act as if a black woman speaking boldly on her birthday had unleashed a national crisis. As pundits debated whether she'd overstepped, none asked the question searing her soul. Who set the boundaries to begin with? In a nation where perception trumps evidence, the true trial unfolded not in courts or hearings, but on screens, where media titans armed their arsenals and picked sides in a conflict Emma never sought. By midday, battle lines formed, not with policies, but with headlines. CNN launched a fervent segment, twisting words, the peril of misjudging dissent. Emma's face filled the screen, framed in soothing blues, her voice overlaid with analysis defending her right to challenge. Legal scholars argued the First Amendment was under siege, not by Emma, but by those criminalizing critique. Her livestream played unedited, the first time since the uproar, revealing her precise words and tone, resolute, not reckless. The host ended with a Frederick Douglass quote and a lingering warning. If truth burns like fire, perhaps the house is already ablaze. Across countless homes, Emma's allies exhaled briefly, but on the next channel, a starkly different tale unfolded in crimson strokes. Breitbart's homepage roared, "Radical Democrat sparks Tesla attacks, Musk targeted." A montage flashed, fleeting images of flames, shattered chargers, and Emma Carter's face, frozen mid-sentence, edited to seem menacing. The piece skipped nuance, branding her a leader of leftist extremism, accusing her of stoking class conflict, and calling her a cunning revolutionary, veiled in eloquent speech. A guest writer proposed suspending Carter's congressional seat, pending a probe. On air, a commentator growled, "We wouldn't accept such rhetoric from abroad. Why tolerate it in our own halls?" No one countered. No one noted her plea for peace. In that narrative, Emma wasn't human. She was a caricature, and caricatures once demonized rarely regain humanity. For Emma, the split-screen frenzy felt like watching two versions of herself clash for survival. One was steadfast, defiant, deeply human. The other was fabricated, warped, and perilous, crafted to instill fear, not understanding. She realized she wasn't just facing Bennett, Musk, or conservative influencers. She was battling the machine, an algorithm-driven echo chamber that craved her shadow, not her truth, to fill its villain slot. In a media war where anger fuels revenue, her integrity threatened not democracy, but their storyline. Yet studio-spun tales eventually demand more than quips. Sworn oaths under Congress's stern gaze and history's unyielding lens. The summons arrived at 6:42 a.m., hand-delivered, bearing the House Oversight Committee's seal, marked urgent. Emma Carter clutched it like a live explosive. The message was stark. You've shaken the wrong pillars. Now face the consequences. Within hours, the press broke the story. Congress to hold urgent hearing on political speech and unrest. The title seemed balanced, even just. Emma knew better. This wasn't fairness. It was a snare, set to pit her against a foe as cunning as the system itself. The hearing was scheduled for Thursday, 10 a.m., Rayburn Building, room 2175. She wouldn't face a jury, but something harsher, a panel cloaked in justice but designed to shield what she'd exposed. Waiting across the room, already prepared and amplified, was Laura Bennett. They entered from opposite corridors like figures from clashing eras. Emma Carter, civil rights lawyer, born of Seattle's resilience, clad in dark navy with her trademark crosspin, moved as if she'd already endured this ordeal. Laura Bennett, blonde, refined, seasoned, Florida's former attorney general, stepped in as if she commanded the space. One earned her name defending the voiceless, the other protecting systems that silenced them. The difference wasn't merely visual, it was ideological, generational, even moral. Carter embodied a growing movement that held truth must challenge power. Bennett stood for a traditional elite that saw power as truth. Seated at opposing tables under the U.S. Congress seal, they weren't just individuals. They were the fault line of a nation choosing who speaks and who's muted. The room was packed, yet felt still. Lawyers shuffled documents, aides whispered into earpieces, photographers glided silently. But all faded against the two women at the storm's heart. Emma Carter sat upright, her expression unreadable, every gesture honed to stay steady. Laura Bennett, impassive, surveyed the room with a litigator's precision, pausing only when her gaze met Emma's. The instant lingered. No blink, no gesture, just a charged pause between two forces too committed to retreat. Cameras snapped, capturing the day's defining image. Two women, one stare, a silence louder than any prelude. Then the gavel fell. "This hearing is called to order," the chairman announced. But order was a mirage. What unfolded wasn't oversight, but a clash draped in legal garb, with neither side here to lose. In political hearings, pivotal moments shift not from truth, but from someone lighting a spark. Laura Bennett didn't waver. She leaned into the mic with the grace of one who'd practiced each syllable before a mirror, not for honesty, but to forge a blade. Her voice was smooth, unshaken. "Let me be clear for the record," she started, eyes sweeping the panel, then fixing on Emma like a predator tracking its mark. "When you broadcast 'take him down' to millions, you can't claim innocence when chaos erupts." Her fingers grazed a blown-up print of Emma's speech, propped for drama. You understood the impact of those words. You knew your audience, yet you spoke. You called it symbolic, peaceful, but someone turned your words into wreckage. Now we have ruined stations, scorched wires, and 3 men in custody who thought you summoned them to act. Her eyes tightened. Intent doesn't erase outcomes, Congresswoman. If we're to punish incitement, the rules don't bend for who holds the mic. She paused, letting her charge settle like mist. This isn't free speech, it's recklessness cloaked in eloquence. No gavel interrupted, no objection rose. Just cameras clicking, reporters jotting, and countless assumptions solidifying into news. For a fleeting moment, Bennett permitted a faint, icy smile, tailored for headlines. Emma didn't respond immediately. No headshake, no smirk. She sat in the stillness, absorbing Bennett's accusation, the undertones, the political spectacle, and let it rest. Her calm wasn't defeat. It was mastery. Then she leaned forward, measured, as if resisting a flood. When she spoke, her voice was clear, not loud, not quivering, but solid, carrying every ignored injustice. "No," she said, the word not echoing but sinking. "You want to discuss incitement? Let's discuss silence." The room froze. She ignored her notes. She didn't need them. "When armed men stormed our Capitol shouting for blood, you didn't call their words a spark. You labeled it zeal, frustration, worthy of empathy." Her gaze held Bennett's. "You didn't call for probes. You called for leniency, stood before cameras, and softened hate's edges, let it fester." Her hand stayed firm on the table, grounding her. "Don't preach responsibility to me. I wield words to expose a man who uses power like a club. You wielded yours to shield those who made our democracy a battlefield." She edged closer. "I didn't start the blaze. I'm standing in it because your silence fueled its spread. Now you dare call me dangerous for not burning quietly." Her closing wasn't shouted, but delivered with the poise of one who'd faced fire and chosen to stand. Silence isn't impartial, Laura. It's complicity in finery. Time didn't halt, but it seemed to yearn to. When Emma finished, an unspoken shift rippled through the room. Not just tension, but awakening, stripping politics to its core question. Who are we when deceit is exposed? Every chair, every corner felt suspended. No one stirred. No one breathed. Even the restless cameras stood still, as if capturing the moment risked breaking it. Laura Bennett didn't flinch, but her posture betrayed her, shoulders stiffening, hands gripping her papers tighter. For a woman famed for unshakable TV presence, she appeared briefly trapped. Emma, unmoving, didn't gloat in the silence she'd forged. She held it with the same dignity she'd held the tempest. A younger committee member leaned back, visibly shaken. Another murmured to an aide, eyes fixed on Emma. A reporter on the press balcony whispered to their editor, struggling to capture the moment, knowing words would fall short. This wasn't just a rebuttal. It was a moral confrontation. And for one electric instant, the room forgot to breathe. But Emma Carter didn't enter this hearing defenseless. She came armed for battle. Her next move wasn't a counterpoint. It was a revelation she'd held in reserve. Emma didn't pound the table or raise her tone. What she did was more lethal. She made the room recall. With deliberate grace, she lifted the remote beside her notes, holding it like a trigger. "With your permission, Madam Chair," she said evenly, "I'd like to present a statement Ms. Bennett made on January 7th, 2021, hours after the Capitol assault." No objections came. The chair nodded quietly, and the screen behind the panel glowed, not with data or maps, but with raw truth on film. The footage was dated, but unmistakable. Laura Bennett at a press conference, flanked by flags, her voice steady, her words jarring. These weren't terrorists, the clip opened. They were Americans, fervent, fearful, deserving a voice, not punishment. A timestamp confirmed. January 7th, 2021. The committee camera zoomed as Bennett's recorded voice pressed on. "We must avoid political excess. We must hear them. We can't let partisanship criminalize patriotic feeling." The screen went dark. A heavy silence followed. Not courteous or formal, but stunned, the kind that prickles the neck and draws the walls closer. Emma paused, then set the remote down with care, as if sealing evidence in a vault. "That," she said distinctly, "is what Ms. Bennett said of those who broke windows, carried zip ties, called for executions, and defiled our Capitol. That deserved empathy. But my critique of a billionaire's sway in government? That's suddenly incitement." She didn't waver. "If you can excuse those who brought gallows to the Capitol, but call my words a threat, this hearing isn't about safety. It's about silencing the wrong voice." Her tone stayed level, each word striking with truth's restrained force. Bennett shifted, but stayed silent. She didn't need to speak. The room had witnessed a narrative crumble, not a dramatic flourish, but a memory revived. Bennett might have recoiled, but she didn't break. A seasoned litigator, she sensed Emma's strike, though precise, had triggered her contingency. She opened a leather folder with the precision of one dissecting a case. "May I respond?" she said, her voice now edgier, polish fraying under strain. "While Congresswoman Carter fixates on words, I focus on outcomes, violent ones." She rose, presenting printed charts to the committee like trial evidence. "These are FBI and local police incident reports." She distributed copies. In the 48 hours after Carter's livestream, 7 Tesla sites in Colorado, Washington, and Nevada were hit. 2 caused injuries. 1 involved bombs. She tapped the chart. "This isn't chance. It's a cascade." A digital screen behind her displayed color-coded markers. Orange for arson, red for vandalism, black for federal probes. A war map. Her words, her timing, her audience are tied to these acts. Leaders must pair speech with caution. She faced Emma. "You don't need to scream 'destroy it' to light the fuse. Just whisper to the wrong crowd." Her tone was cold, rehearsed. Congresswoman Carter told millions to take him down. Now we're paying the price. She paused, eyes on the cameras. Leadership doesn't spark blazes. It prevents them. If we don't act, the next blast won't hit a charger. It'll strike democracy's roots. It was a theatrical pivot, and Bennett knew it. Yet, despite her charts and warnings, the room's mood had shifted. Listeners weighed both sides. One woman had shown empathy for Capitol rioters. The other had challenged influence. Yet only one was branded dangerous. As the hearing settled into its predictable rhythm, attack, parry, dodge, Emma's counsel slid her a note. She read it, nodded once, and addressed the chair. Madam Chair, I have approval to present a final witness, anonymous in public records, here willingly under whistleblower safeguards. The room buzzed, cameras realigned, reporters perked up. A man entered through a side door, escorted by two legal observers. Ordinary, late 30s, gray slacks, navy jacket. As he stated his name, tension spiked. I'm Michael Hayes, he said steadily, former senior automation engineer at Tesla's Nevada Gigafactory. Heads turned. Bennett's eyes sharpened. He placed a flash drive on the table. I'm here because this hearing barely touches what's really happening inside Tesla. In 9 minutes, Michael shattered the facade. Company-wide NDAs enforced by firing threats. Workers sacked for flagging safety issues. Political funds funneled under fake names. What Ms. Carter exposed wasn't disorder. It was the first crack in a fortress of secrets, he said. I have emails, documents, recordings. Some attacks weren't her doing. They were moves to bury what we knew was coming. He faced the committee. Emma Carter didn't incite a crowd. She rattled a system that silenced its workers for years. The room wasn't just quiet. It was floored. This wasn't scripted or anticipated. Bennett sat rigid. No notes, no charts, no prepared retort, as her narrative met a man who'd lived its lie. The unraveling began. But as the hearing's raw truths simmered, the true fight shifted beyond paneled walls, flooding millions of screens, phones, and divided digital factions nationwide. Hours after Michael Hayes' testimony, America's digital landscape ignited, not with reason, but with hashtags. One side rallied under "Let Emma Speak," a chant from those who saw her as a woman defying a system built to crush her kind. The hashtag surged. Instagram stories blazed with fire emojis. Twitter threads praised her poise. Reddit hailed her as a truth-teller in a hollow chamber. Clips of her facing Bennett were set to protest anthems, gospel choirs, courtroom scores, going viral not for edits, but for raw power. Across the digital divide, a darker narrative gripped. Stop Carter now trended, from fringe to mainstream. Conservative voices turned Bennett's clips into memes, rants, and TikTok tirades, branding Emma a radical, accusing her of defying the Constitution, emboldening chaos with a law degree. Her speeches, stripped of context, were overlaid with sirens, riots she never touched. Both sides grew fiercer, less yielding. It wasn't policy debates. It was truth itself at stake. Emma's identity, black, female, unbowed, became the heart of her elevation or vilification. To half the nation, she was a long-awaited voice. To the other, a danger they were taught to dread. Reason gave way to emotion, and algorithms chose chaos over clarity. At 11:38 p.m., a minute-long TikTok clip dropped from an account with a Confederate flag bio and 1 million followers. Titled, "Carter Confesses to Violence," it showed Emma's face, cropped and tinted to look sinister. Her audio, sliced and distorted, fabricated a lie. It's time to take them down by any means. No context, just a ticking clock, tense music, and a caption. This is the Democrats' face. It exploded, hitting 20 million views by dawn. Fox News looped it, calling it proof of extremism. Politicians retweeted, decrying, "Unacceptable from a congresswoman." Emma's team denounced it as fake, but the damage was done. Lies took root where facts couldn't reach. It worked. Sponsors ditched Emma's events. A Georgia school canceled her talk, citing risks. Her inbox overflowed with threats, graphic, veiled, all violent. "You'll pay, one spark at a time. Washington sees you." The outrage didn't quell the video, it fueled it. Each truth clarified only boosted the lie. Shows debated her demeanor, pundits her attire. A woman who never endorsed violence fought to prove she wasn't what they'd molded. Not a radical, but a person refusing erasure. Emma could have retreated, let lawyers speak, let the storm pass. Her team urged it. The system expected it. But Emma Carter didn't rise by seeking approval to exist. She went live. At 7:01 p.m., her stream opened. Not with fanfare, but with her face, raw, earnest, lit by a glow earned through years of standing firm. "I didn't plan this," she began, voice steady. No scripts, no polish. "But when lies roar and truth whispers, you grab the mic." Comments flooded, hateful, hopeful, attentive. "Let's be clear," she said, eyes piercing the lens like a juror. "I never called for violence, never supported it, never will." Her tone softened. "But I won't apologize for speaking truth." She played her unedited Tesla takedown clip. "This is what I said," she told viewers. "This is what they warped, cut, stitched, to turn accountability into war." She paused, the weight heavy. "If truth is now a crime, I've always been a criminal." No tears, no shouts, just unyielding presence. To millions, it was light-piercing fog. "This isn't about one firm or me. It's about a system thriving on silence." She let it sink in. "I won't stay silent." The stream hit 3.2 million views and climbed. Celebrities shared it. Rights groups amplified it. Students clipped "I won't stay silent" as their anthem. Most crucially, she reclaimed her voice, not as a politician or headline, but as a person refusing to let truth drown in fear. Yet, as Emma's words resonated, raw and fearless, Laura Bennett didn't retreat. She reloaded, aiming to turn public opinion into legal persecution. It landed with surgical force, a gavel striking for blood, not order. Laura Bennett stood before the committee, stance rigid, voice sharp as a blade, not debating, but demanding. Given her speech's pattern, reach, and violent outcomes, she declared, "I urge this committee to refer Congresswoman Carter to the DOJ for investigation under 18 U.S. Code 2385, advocating government overthrow or inciting ideological unrest." The room gasped, a sharp, real shock. She raised a thick packet of timestamps and metrics. "This isn't mere disagreement, it's provocation with tangible harm. When you repeatedly call for dismantling institutions, spur targeted attacks, and refuse to disavow the fallout, you cross a line, not rhetorical, but criminal." Her voice grew stern. "This isn't protected speech. It's an attack on law, masked as activism." Her eyes blazed. "This is sedition in velvet." The room braced, not just tense, but fearful. Federal charges meant prison, legacy's end. Bennett's shot rang out to every woman in politics. "Speak boldly, and we'll brand you a national threat." The silence after her words crackled, taut as a wire ready to snap. Eyes turned to Emma, but she didn't waver or request to reply. She acted. Leaning forward, hands clasped, no notes, just her life's weight in her gaze. She spoke low, clear. "One question for this committee," she said. "When power guards the rich and punishes truth-tellers, Who's the true criminal here? The silence pulsed with heartbeats. No one cut in. She rose slowly, like a tide gaining strength. I broke no law. I exposed a system that ignores its own. For that, I'm called dangerous. Her eyes scanned the room. I didn't raid the Capitol, start fires, hide records, or lie under oath. I spoke to the people, named the corruption. Now you tie my name to sedition. She shook her head, not angry, but disbelieving. Is this our reality? Questioning wealth, tech, unchecked power makes you a felon? Defending workers makes you a traitor? She stepped forward. Then roll the cameras. If that's criminal, the jails better brace for millions. The room didn't explode. It stilled. Every soul, lawmaker, reporter, aide, felt the shift. A woman not begging for justice, but redefining it. Then, unexpectedly, a Republican congressman, gray-haired, 5-term veteran, spoke. "Madam Chair," he said firmly, "I must speak." Representative David Whitaker of Ohio's 6th District, known for party loyalty, broke form. "I've served here over a decade," he began. "I've seen lies, corruption buried in legalese and speeches. But I've seen truth, too, and I know courage when it enters." He faced Emma. Congresswoman Carter didn't incite violence. She sparked tough questions. We're here not because she's a threat, but because she's inconvenient. Gasps rippled like embers. Whitaker pressed on, ignoring restless colleagues. I may not share her views, but I know protest from provocation, accountability from anarchy. Today's testimony, especially the whistleblowers, troubles me, and I won't join a farce that punishes truth spoken too well. He shut his folder, leaned back and eyed Bennett, not with rage, but regret. This hearing should seek justice. If it's a weapon, we're not saving democracy. We're dismantling it, murmurs broke out. Seasoned members couldn't hide unease. One domino fell, and all felt it. A crack, not wide, but enough to let doubt seep where certainty once ruled. The system trembled. Emma Carter, at the storm's center, needed no more words. She'd won a war with one piercing question. But as Emma's words fractured silence and a Republican defected, power's machine didn't yield. It recalibrated, waiting to strike anew. 3 days later, a 23-page report dropped quietly at 7 a.m. No fanfare, but resounding like thunder in every office of unchallenged power. The House Oversight Committee, after urgent talks, stated, "No legal grounds exist to criminally prosecute Congresswoman Emma Carter." The language was dry, the message clear. Sedition charges crumbled under facts. Citing First Amendment rights, the report reviewed events and deemed Carter's speech provocative, but constitutionally protected, referencing Brandenburg versus Ohio. Speech is safe unless it incites immediate lawlessness, a bar Bennett's claims missed. The victory was restrained, a system reluctant to admit overreach. Emma's name cleared on paper, but public scars lingered. Her office released a statement. "We accept the ruling, but stay watchful. Truth isn't a crime. Silencing dissent is." The phrase spread. Hashtags, op-eds, activist shirts. Allies rejoiced, but Emma knew the fight persisted. The committee ruled, but Bennett wasn't done. When law falls short, some wage civilian war. 2 hours after the report, Laura Bennett stood before cameras outside Tallahassee's U.S. District Court at a podium with the state bar's seal. "If Congress won't act," she said, voice unshaken, "the people will." She raised a stapled document. "I'm filing a civil defamation suit against Congresswoman Carter for reckless falsehoods that irreparably harmed my reputation." The press erupted. The suit claimed Emma knowingly lied, slandered Bennett's January 6th stance, and disrupted her legal and public roles, demanding $10 million and a retraction of Emma's stream and statements. Beneath the legalese, the intent was clear. If Congress can't silence you, courts will try. Bennett's tactic was brutal. She aimed to bury Emma in legal exhaustion, headlines, and years of litigation. "This transcends free speech," she told reporters. "It's about accountability. Nobody ruins reputations without cost." The irony crackled. The defender of insurrectionists claimed speech victimhood, not justice, but revenge in a sharp blazer. Emma didn't blink. 2 days later, her legal team held a press conference. Understated. Weighty. Emma stood by her lead counsel, a D.C. First Amendment expert, and read her counterclaims opening. "Today," she said, "we file a civil suit against Ms. Bennett's campaign of defamation, harassment, and unconstitutional retaliation against my protected speech as a public servant." The countersuit was stark, alleging Bennett's case was baseless, a deliberate bid to weaponize courts against dissent. Emma's team presented coordinated media plans, private messages among Bennett's allies plotting to drain Emma financially, and communications showing intent to smear her into submission. The suit cited breaches of speech protections, obstruction of public duty, and intentional distress. The real power wasn't the filing. It was Emma's voice. She stepped forward, gazing past cameras to the crowd. "I won't be sued into silence. This is bigger than me. If we let wealth and grudges bully truth, we've lost more than a case. We've lost the Constitution." Her words went viral. Legal scholars dubbed it the most high-profile prosecutor clash in recent history. Articles titled "Blazer Battle" and "Speech on Trial" flooded media. For Emma, it wasn't drama. It was a line in the sand. Black women in power won't sit mute while dragged through dirt by systems they vowed to uphold. 2 attorneys, 2 women, 2 visions of law. Now 2 cases set for federal court. Politics couldn't cage truth. Courts became the final arena. With suits filed and lines drawn, the courtroom ousted the Capitol as America's truth stage. A spotlight fixed on 2 women, 2 ideologies, 1 urgent question. Can justice endure a reputation war? From opening statements, Bennett versus Carter morphed from a civil case into a national fixation. Cable networks cleared schedules for live coverage. Podcasts called it the Century's Trial. TikTokers staged dramatic reenactments, while editorials debated the First Amendment versus gender weaponization. It wasn't just law, it was a cultural quake. The New York Times front page likened it to O.J. Simpson meets whistleblowing. Each day the courtroom opened, the world held its breath as Emma Carter faced a machine bent on her erasure. Inside the federal court, tension clung like a second skin. Emma sat with her lawyers, in black, a silver Constitution pin on her lapel. Quiet strength, unyielding. Across, Bennett was sharp, assertive, backed by a costly Florida litigation firm. The tone was hostile from the start. Bennett's team cast Emma as a reckless instigator, blurring critique and danger. Emma's counsel countered with documents, timelines, whistleblower accounts, dismantling Bennett's months-long narrative. The hardest battles weren't legal points, but the glances, insinuations, power dynamics pulsing under each objection. Courts claimed neutrality, but every look at Emma whispered, "How dare she stand firm?" The world didn't watch justice. It watched a system writhe. On day 10, the trial pivoted. During cross-examination, Emma's counsel unveiled evidence. Financial trails tying Laura Bennett to New Horizons for Innovation, a PAC funneling $4.2 million to pro-Musk, pro-Tesla deregulation campaigns. Asked if she'd taken fees or retainers from PAC affiliates, Bennett faltered. "I've done advocacy, yes, not financial reliance," she said. Emma's team wasn't guessing. They showed invoices, emails, a Zoom transcript where Bennett said, "We must shield Tesla from progressive suits, control the story before media devours us." The courtroom hushed. Bennett's lawyer seemed blindsided. The judge called a 10-minute break, but the story broke free. Hours later, MSNBC, CNN, even center-right outlets ran. Bennett linked to Tesla PAC, undisclosed funds, spark ethics concerns. The fallout was explosive. Ethicists demanded probes. Florida's bar announced a disclosure review. Protesters outside court waved signs. Musk's money, Bennett's lies. The narrative flipped. Bennett wasn't prosecuting. She was defending her name. Emma said nothing. Her silence spoke loudest. 2 weeks later, the verdict landed. Clear, unanimous, for Emma Carter. The court ruled Bennett's suit baseless, a coordinated bid to intimidate a congresswoman via civil law misuse. Emma received $1.3 million for reputational damage, $500,000 for legal costs. No smile, no cheer, just a deep exhale. A woman leaving a battlefield strewn with debris. It wasn't done. Emma left court through a rear exit, security tight, not routine, but due to death threats. Her email brimmed with vile messages. Her staff got calls to silence her or else. A plain envelope, no sender, reached her district office with one typed line. Not all get retrials. The FBI probed, but harm was done. Reporters swarmed her car for a quote. She gave one. We won the case, not justice, not yet. She entered her car, not victorious, but enduring. That night, networks aired specials. Carter-Bennett clash, free speech's war. None grasped the truth. For Emma, it wasn't about rulings. It was the cost. Sleepless nights, her team's fear. Moments she wondered if truth was worth the pain. Always. Yes, but scarred. As the courtroom cleared and victory papers dried, Emma sensed a deeper truth. The system didn't lose. It recoiled, its face returning, smiling on TV. 3 days post-defeat, Laura Bennett faced a prime-time anchor on a major conservative network, studio lights softening her courtroom wounds. Her posture was firm, blazer pristine, tone not apologetic, but defiant clarity. "Let me be plain," she said with a tight smile. "I regret nothing." She leaned in, measured. "I stood for law, order, restraint. If that's villainy, the issue isn't me." The host nodded gravely, as if mourning truth. Bennett went on. "Carter may have won legally, but her actions ripple beyond court. When leaders stir unrest without consequence, it's not accountability. It's chaos posing as progress." Her line, later quoted widely, landed. "You can't sue a nation's soul away." Twitter erupted. Some lauded her resolve. Others damned her as justice's broken symbol. Undeniable. Bennett wasn't beaten. She was adapting. Her smile hid not just damage control, but a force bent on rewriting the story. One believing law should curb disruption, not guard it. No longer just a lawyer, she was the system's refusal to self-examine. For Emma Carter, the true war dawned. A week later, a new stage glowed. Not a court or hearing, but a stadium, 60,000 strong, buzzing with chants, lights, and electric hope. Billed as the freedom-reframed rally, all knew it was Emma Carter's response. She took the stage. No music, just roaring applause, a screen blazing, "Truth is not a crime." No suit, just a white blouse, jeans, a First Amendment pin. She stood silent 10 seconds, letting the moment settle like mist over steel. She began, voice ringing through speakers. "Freedom today isn't what we say. It's what they erase." The crowd roared. She raised a hand. They demanded apologies, settlements, silence. "I won't apologize for truth, settle for quiet, while tycoons buy justice, or hush in a system that hears only wealth." She held a document. "This is the Citizen Speech Protection Act, making targeted lawsuits against dissent a federal crime. When speech threatens power, the speaker isn't the danger. It's the system gagging them." The stadium shook. Some wept, Others stood, hands on hearts, hearing not policy, but permission to hope, not in perfection or politics, but in truth unsilenced. Emma was no victim or victor, but the voice of every muted whistleblower, erased tale, silenced protest. As dusk fell under the stadium's beams, she edged to the stage's rim, lowered the mic. Looking past the crowd, into the lens, "America," she said. When speech is criminal, silence aids the crime. Her words didn't echo. They detonated. For 5 seconds, the crowd stood still, as if the world exhaled. Her steady voice bore a truth too sharp to dodge. Those 13 words weren't a statement. They were a mirror to a nation blind to itself. The screen shifted, her quote in bold. Then, "This isn't the end. It's the start." Cameras from 32 nations caught it. Translations hit tickers. Pundits scrambled to spin. Too late. That night, something broke open. Emma Carter wasn't on trial. It was the notion that truth needs permission. As lights dimmed and the stadium emptied, not applause lingered, but the weight of Emma's survived war, not of blood, but silence, distortion, betrayal. It left one searing question. What's the price of truth when all is built to punish it? Emma Carter's tale didn't end in triumph, but in reckoning, not with medals, but in the quiet after flames, asking, was it worth it? No victory lap, survival, loud and raw. Her endurance holds a lesson democracy's racing to learn. What Emma faced, character smears, death threats, legal traps, defamation as process, isn't rare, just seen. That visibility cuts both ways. It inspires speech, but shows power how to punish the unmuted. We see truth as a torch passed hand to hand, guiding. Emma's story revealed darker. Truth today is a flare fired in desperation, not to lead, but to prove you're alive. In an era of weaponized media, AI lies, and tycoons' rules, truth isn't moral. It's a liability. Those who speak it aren't heroes. They're threats. Too loud, too angry, too black, too female, too much. Emma didn't speak for safety. Silence had failed her people too often. She knew power's reaction to being called out by one it expects to crush. Yet she stood, pointing not at a man, but a system neutral in face, draining the bold dry. She didn't just name injustice. She named who profits by denying it. They hit her with all they had, courts the final blade. Before, noise, social media swarms, clipped sound bites, curated rage to spur mobs craving fuel, not facts. Bennett's suit wasn't for damages. It warned every woman, dissenter, voice thinking truth was free. A legal threat. Step out, and this awaits. Emma heard it. She defied it. Her defiance showed the cost of honesty in a dishonest world. Not just threats or headlines, but isolation. Midnight doubts if the fight's worth the ruin. Emma didn't brave fire for fame. She did it so others might not. For the next whistleblower, activist, Seattle girl told her voice is too sharp. Emma's stand gives reason to speak. The unspoken truth. The system isn't broken. It's built this way, absorbing enough truth to seem credible while expelling voices too raw, uncontrolled, unbought. Emma's trial wasn't her versus Bennett. It was truth versus what's tolerated. In America, truth's welcome when soft, safe, weak. When it disrupts profits or narratives, it's dangerous, criminalized. The lesson isn't courage wins, it's courage scrapes by if systems shield it. Emma's fight bared a truth. Free speech is hollow without retaliation's shield. You can't laud the First Amendment and jail its practice. You can't cheer democracy while empires crush critics in courts made for intimidation, not justice. You can't claim law and order when law preserves disorder for all but the elite. Thank you for staying through this justice journey. Your support is everything. Like subscribe, activate notifications to catch what's next. Share your thoughts below. What stirred you most? Together, our voices matter.